Alright, so welcome to a Digimon card game video. In this one, I wanted to actually go through a number of things, specifically about 5 or 6 things that I wish I knew before I started playing the Digimon card game. And of course, this is more dedicated to beginners or those who are just starting out. I won't teach you how to play, but if you just played the app or your first couple games with a friend and then you just came here, then you're in the perfect place. It'll be pretty quick, but if I do get anything wrong or if you have different suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. All right, the first thing is memory locking and memory management. So memory and as well as just resource management is pretty important in this game, in my opinion. And the thing about it is that, like in Dragon Ball or even in Yu-Gi-Oh, hand size is pretty important. But if you don't draw anything, or if you don't draw what you need as far as your Digimon or option cards, etc., especially since there's no mulligan in this game, it is pretty important to manage your resources for memory and knowing how to memory lock your opponent. When I say that, that means making them go from your turn all the way over to 1 memory instead of 3, because if you do pass, then it's going to be 3. But putting them at 1 really gives them the disadvantage, and if they put you back at 1, it's going to be kind of a back and forth. So that is something that you have to learn and how to play against. There are tamer cards in the game that actually give them 3 memory no matter what. Even if you pay 1, they still go to 3 because of the tamer card that I'll put on the screen here. They do have to pay 4, but in correlation to that, you can use that energy to play your own tamer and then play something else afterwards, or just kind of play around it. So just remember that going to 1, going to 2, that's always better than going to 3. And if they do have a tamer, then it's just best to put them at 3 no matter what. Now let's talk about card types, and which is pretty important in my opinion, because when you start listening to streams or you start playing different games, the card language, the language being used is pretty important to get used to. And from that, I think the card types, as in the levels and as well as what they refer to, is pretty important. The first one is going to be Digitamas or Digi-Eggs, which are the level 2s that start in your raising area. They can't swing, they can't do anything. They just start out in your raising area for you to evolve on and then bring it out after you raise them. I like to call it raising area. I know it's called the breeding area, but it kind of sounds a little bit weird to me, so I'm going to call it the raising area. Pretty basic stuff. And then goes to rookies, which generally what you would use to evolve on top of the Digitamas or the eggs for free. Generally, they cost 0 to 1 cost for Digi-Evolve, and then you get that free draw. That's basically your extra draw as long as you draw that rookie and as long as you play it on there. Just don't forget to do that anytime, because it's easy to forget because you want to go ahead and play cards, but the first thing that you want to do is make sure you have rookies in your hand and then play them on top of your Digitama. Even more experienced players can forget that. I forget it sometimes, and I've been playing for a couple months now. Rookies also have a play cost between 2 and 4, usually 2 on the lower end, and a Digi-Evolve cost of 0 to 1. And because of this is sort of one of the reasons why it's being played so much in the current format, is because it's super cheap and it's super easy to play out. Not only cheap to buy and to purchase, because a lot of the cards in this game right now are kind of expensive, but also to play in the actual game. And for really any game, especially a resource-based game like this, I think paying things for free or for very cheap is very important, so that way you can out advantage your opponent and then just start swinging as soon as possible. Not only that, but blue is generally the color that Rookie Rush is being played in, and because you get to play or gain memory back within blue, it's very popular to see that in. You can kind of just spam the board and hard cast them and not really give up too much memory to your opponent. Those are the level 3s. The level 4s are champions. They are generally 1 or 2 costs to evolve. Sometimes they're a little bit more, but I think usually 1 or 2 is kind of the normal thing. They're generally higher in cost to actually play and hard cast as well, but some of them are actually level 3s are 3 costs. So just jumping right into a 3 cost champion and then Digi-Evolving into the next, which is the level 5s, which is our ultimates, is a really good play as well. And when you combine that with the tamers that I talked about before, where you automatically go to 3 and then go to 0 and then evolve on top of that, not only that you get to hard play something or hard cast something for 3, which is already skipping the rookie and the Digitama, And then you get to draw one after you Digi-Evolve and get the effects afterwards. Now you have the next one, which is Ultimates. They're same as Champions as far as evolve costs, but you have higher pay costs, and they have pretty good effects and as well as inheritables. Now that leaves us to the Megas, which are higher than 10 or more. Basically, every color has a vanilla, which doesn't have any effects at all. And those have two to evolve as far as the cost, and then 3 or more for pretty much every other mega. There is a deck currently, or types of decks currently as far as that goes, called Mega Zoo, which basically you pay out the 10, 11, 12 cost cards and then pass the turn to your opponent with that much memory, but they either have to deal with that, which is very hard to deal with because it's usually like 10,000, 11,000, 13,000 DP. And the whole concept is to keep doing that over and over, getting these really crazy effects, which we'll go over in a second, and as well as swinging with the bigger bodies, which usually just don't die. But sticking with the Megas, every color basically has sort of a boss card or boss monster that you'll generally see in a deck, or at least to revolve around. And these usually end the game. Like, this is where their end game is, at least as soon as it's on the board. Then you have to either deal with it, or the game is going to be ending pretty quickly, or at least soon. Going over the basics, red has Blitz Greymon or Volcanic. Blitz is a Digi-Evolve, and you get to Digi-Evolve your opponent, and then Volcanic just wipes the board for 4k or less, and then you can evolve on that with Omnimon or something similar with the level 7s we're going to take a look at in a second. Blue would have generally Imperial or Ol Force V Draymon. I can never say that very cleanly, but they both have pretty cool effects where they're cheaper when you play certain cards on top of it, or underneath it, I should say. And then they can swing multiple times due to their effects. Yellow has Shine Greymon and as well as Slash. There's others as well, but those are the mostly played because they're really, really good for removal. Green generally has Ceresmon or Rust Tyrannomon. Both of them are basically taking advantage of any of the cards that your opponent plays, and you get to tap them down with something called Download, or basically just swinging into the cards as board removal. Purple has the Belzamon and as well as Mastamon, and also Lilith and as well as Piedmon, but those are a little bit different since they have on-play effects, and a little bit different because Lilith caters towards option cards. But Beazle and Mastamon, they both have certain effects to remove, and as well as reduce cost for Beazle for certain decks. Then Mastamon basically takes away life for both you and the opponent, and then you get to play something from the drop, which is very, very cool. And finally, black has my favorite, which is War Greymon, Crest Garurumon, and then Cranium is pretty much what you would see in any black deck. War Greymon has Reboot and as well as Blocker, which means you can swing, it'll untap at the end of the turn, and then now you have a blocker, a big boy blocker that prevents an attack. Cranium prevents anything that has blocker from being deleted. Pairing that with War Greymon, now you have something that can't be deleted, and as well as restands and swings every turn. And then lastly, we have level 7s, which are also called Megas, but these are pretty much the money cards right now, in my opinion, or at least the cards that people want to play. That includes Omnimon, Omnimon Alter S, Millenniumon, and then Ragna. They all do something different, but the Omnis basically is a form of removal, and as you can see on the screen, they have different effects of what they do. Millennium is also removal, but in correlation with the purple stuff, you can remove itself, or when it gets removed by the opponent, it gets to be played again, which means you basically have 2 Millenniums or 2 attacks. And in reference to the Blitz, you can Digi-Evolve it, and it'll get around that effect as a heads up. And then also Ragna, with all of the inheritables that it has, to reboot and to block and to have security +1 with all the other red stuff that you might explore, can be really, really good, honestly. Not to mention that you can reduce its memory costs. Okay, next is on play versus Digi-Evolving, and as well as the raising area. So really quick, just a quick reminder, on play is a little bit different from Digi-Evolving, and correlates to the play cost at the top left. And then on play effects are in the upper text, not in the lower where the inheritable is. But if it has an on-play effect, you can't Digi-Evolve for the on-play, and vice versa. So for Digi-Evolve, you don't get any on-play effects, but they usually have a different cost and as well as color. So the thing that you're going to be playing on top of needs to have the same color as the Digi-Evolve. But of course, some have dual colors as far as Digi-Evolving, just like Ragnar that we mentioned earlier. And then lastly, effects don't work or don't activate from the raising area. So when you raise something and you play it from the raising area, you don't get the on-play effects and you don't get the Digi-Evolve effects. Now, the last thing is to know every color's security check. And I'm not going to go through every single one, but I'm going to go through the most important. So red has Guy of Horse, basically straight removal from security. Blue has Cocytus Breath, and as well as Hammer Spark, which is removal, but it returns to hand, and Hammer Sparks basically gives them 2 memory when checked. Yellow has a lot, but Seven Heavens, Holy Wave, and Eden's Javelin are the most important. Seven Heavens is a form of removal. Holy Wave basically nullifies the attack by giving them +1 recovery from their deck, and then Eden's Javelin draws them a card and can minus depending on their hand. Purple has Trump Sword. It kills in active mode or unsuspended mode Digimon, but it is also easily played around because if they only have one and they swing with it and they check a Trump Sword, they can't kill the thing that just swung. It has to choose something that hasn't swung that turn. Black really doesn't have very many good options, so I wouldn't really worry about it, but Breath of the Gods and as well as Infinity Cannon are pretty good picks. It stops the complete turn, and as well as Infinity Cannon is pretty good against like these Megas and Ultimates that can Digi-Evolve, but pretty useless against Rookie Rush. And that is it. So hopefully that was quick enough. I don't know if I went through everything that I wanted to go through, but hopefully that gives you kind of a good idea of the points that I was trying to make. Anything I got wrong, let me know in the comments below. Anything you want me to go over, let me know in the comments below. And as we close it out, I'm going to go ahead and open another Vicious Rejuvenation from Dragon Ball to hopefully open a Kai Secret Rare. But definitely subscribe if you are new, like, dislike, join the Discord in the description below, join the Facebook as well, and give us a follow when you can. And then of course I stream on Twitch whenever I can for any of the deck testing, and I do have a Megaebora King's Summons, which is going to be pretty important when it comes to set 13 as far as the SR, and then an Oceanus foil. Shout out to all my Sin Shenron players. Either way, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.